Hello and welcome to another episode here on Gorbad Ironclaw. So overall, I mean, we've been doing quite fine. We've been fighting a lot of Wood Elf armies, and I'm just rushing to the end at this point, really. So apologies if I still haven't figured out how I can do this and still make it, a pleasant experience and a nice experience, because of course people watch the first episodes and they're fine, and then they stop watching after a certain part. Of course, some people do watch. Thank you for that. And of course I like to have this, because many times this is like having how can I say it, many times I have to showcase, hey, this is the army that I used against that one, and sometimes people won't believe it. So I'm like, no, hold on, I have evidence. There's this battle here on my episode, X. So and it is useful, especially to discuss units, to discuss stats, to discuss what can work and how it can work. So precisely, for instance, this army of squigs and night goblins, all that I'm doing, and I skipped the battle plan there, but it's very simple. It's a staggered line, right, with the archers on the back. They're going to be hitting mainly the enemy missile cav, because infantry archers are much better than missile archers, than cavalry archers. So they're very good because they have more range and more entities, so even 1-to-1 usually they win. And I'm going to advance just the army because he's waiting. He knows he has the range advantage, which is a big problem for fighting Wood Elves. You always have to advance on them, and you really don't want to. They have armor piercing everywhere, they have magical damage everywhere, they have good units to tank your units, and they have a lot of range. So that's the beauty of the Wood Elves. They're quite like dwarfs defending. It's insane. But if you have summons, that said, if you have people with shields, suddenly you realize, oh, hold on, I've been taking a lot of punishment, and all I lost is some health on my lords and hero, and now losing some on my infantry, as you can see, but that's more for the Awakening in the Woods than anything. So he casts Awakening in the Woods, I cast the Purple Sun, not the best target to cast it, but still, all that I wanted was to ensure that I would have some level of casting. And the reason for this, guys, is that sometimes you wait for the perfect cast and it never comes in. The opportunity doesn't present itself, and you end up the battle with a spell that you could have casted. So some damage is always better than no damage. Now, the biggest advantage that I have are really these squigs, because they can go into the back line really well, they can push through. And then I also have the Fanatics, which you gotta remember using that ability. It's what makes them strong. They are not strong without the ability at all. These are a little bit erratic units, but once they pop their ability, they're really good. So the squigs are now attacking the Ancient Treemen, which is good. But yes, the AI, of course, is good enough to try to cover his lord. But yeah, my archers are dealing with the missile cavalry, and you can see that a lot of the enemy forces are already routing or about to rout. You can see the leadership. Just look at the bar above, if you prefer, but I would say look at the bars from leadership. If yours are typically better than the enemy, then you're winning the battle. That's it. You just have to keep up the pressure and ensure that there's some damage caused. Yet another Purple Sun, and I think this is the nail in the coffin, because it's going to destroy most of the infantry that was still not, that was still fighting it in good shape. And suddenly, yep, there we go. And it's not like it needs to cause a lot of damage. It just needs to cause a lot of damage to a lot of units, so that suddenly all of them have attacked by a spell, which lowers their leadership, and suddenly there's the cascade effect. You see? That's the sort of thought that I want you to have. You don't need to always go for the kill. You need to go for the tactic of, trying to get rid of those guys like this. So, further developments here. I am going to have to declare on Nurgle again. And this is going to be an ongoing issue. By the way, I was stopping there because I likely was answering my kid. So if you ever see me hovering, whenever I see this, I'm like, yeah, I was answering my kid, wasn't I? Because, I'm recording and suddenly he arrives, Daddy, I need the password for this. Okay. The other day, he was really smart. I trapped him and I was like, oh, you got to say the secret word. You got to say the secret word. And he goes, the secret word. And I was surprised. He's 5. That was very smart. I had to let him go. It wasn't that secret word, but he was very smart. So I was like, yeah, you win. You win, dude. Little dude. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 armies. And yeah, whenever you have to fight so many armies, you just have to make sure that the AI moves them. And sometimes it's just taking a place, a different settlement nearby. They'll take the bait and go for it. So I'm just going to auto-resolve those or resolve those or fight those and just show you the more important ones typically. But what I aim here is like one thing, for instance, to explain how to do this. For instance, don't stick around near or inside Altdorf, because you're going to defend the siege, and the AI knows how to make things a way that you're going to lose the siege. So all that you need to do in a siege, hear me out, because I've done this many times and it kind of always works. All you need to do in a siege is to make sure that the AI doesn't want to keep it. You need to inflict enough casualties, maybe destroy some units. Like if you destroy 2 units, I already think that the AI will sack and go away, because it will feel the need to, And that's one thing that is important to note, which is, man, do I want to ambush there or do I want to go away? But that's an important thing, which is you have to realize when you need to defend a settlement and how much you need to defend it. Because if I keep an army there, he's going to assemble 4 armies and likely I'm not going to be able to defend it, or I'll lose some units. While if I put my units just as a reinforcing the settlement, like let the enemy take the settlement, I'll attack it the next turn, then the AI will go, no, that's a bad move. You see the point? This works actually in war as well. You never have, your best troops at the front. You always have something that will make the enemy pay dearly for trying to go through, right, your defenses, and then you have a counterattack ready. And that's how I want you to think there, okay? So try it out. Make sure, for instance, that you're not near the city or in its red circle, in its area of effect, or its what's called zone of control, right? Because then you'll be dragged into the battle and you cannot retreat, okay? But just nearby, so that the enemy attacks the city and then sees that the AI will see that your armies are there and he'll retreat, okay? So, and that's a good idea to try and keep in mind how to do these sort of things. So already pushed over the Wood Elves. This was very easy. This was all auto resolves, and this is the first close victory. So yeah, there's no more Clan Angrund. It only took me 160 turns, but yeah, I'm already at the stage, and I still don't have long victory. I'm gonna get the end game victory likely before the long victory, which is insane. I should have gotten long victory like turn 100, but I couldn't. I went south. I didn't go north. So yeah, this is the reason why, once I realized, okay, the empire is actually growing really well, I have to be careful. I cannot do this. I'll have to wager some smaller wars and get more powerful. And then, of course, you can breach through the enemy. But sometimes that's what will happen. Sometimes I can guarantee you, I'll fight this campaign again and I'll beat it in 100 turns or 120 turns. Why? Because I'll focus going on the empire. I'll maybe defend in a different location, but always crossing that that line of between the border princes and the walls and going to the Empire lands, it's always problematic. It's always like, ooh, the AI can defend the choke points really well. So anything that gives me money or gives me defense, growth and replenishment is also good, or control if it is required. Right now I'm not too focused on control because I have that +3 from the Books of Corn. I haven't destroyed the Books of Corn. I have +3 control all provinces, which is great. It just helps. It's kind of like I'm playing on hard right now instead of on legendary. Just because it's no longer affecting so much the control. So that's cool. But we'll see ourselves in the next episode, and I'll try to make them different. Have some different battles and such. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye, guys.